going on, Cyber World? I'm JaGurl Ravin, and this is the JaGurl Ravin podcast. What's going on, Cyber World? JaGurl Ravin, the JaGurl Ravin podcast. Welcome back. Second episode. I'm super excited because I have a phenomenal woman who is sitting right next to me, who is so amazing. And I'm so excited to have her here, producer Princess.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You know, I got to get this black girl magic in here.
Yes.
You already know.
Let's do it.
You're the founder of Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise, a CEO, author, producer, coach. You are superwoman, okay?
Mom. Listen, mom. It's my biggest job.
Wife.
Yes, wife. There you go. I am.
Gotta keep the husband happy.
Yes, all of it. I'm all of that.
So let's start from the beginning, because
Sure.
you're not from the U.S.
No, I'm not.
You're from Canada.
Yep.
What sparked that move to come to the U.S.?
Well, actually, I'm from Jamaica. So I was born in Jamaica.
Okay.
I left Jamaica when I was probably 11, 12 years old. I moved. My family moved. My mom got married. We moved to Canada. And, most times, most of the people there's a lot of immigrants in Canada. So Canada is a sort of a melting pot. And really, most people will move away to kind of get some opportunities and get a better life. And that's exactly what we did. And in terms of moving to how I got to the U.S., I got here for love. So I met my husband I met him actually in Toronto. And then that was it. He kind of, we figured out where we were going to be, and it was between Miami and Atlanta. And Atlanta found us, and that was it. Yeah.
So did you guys have your businesses there, or did all that happen here in Atlanta?
With television? Okay, so my husband, I met him literally as he was finishing his residency. So he'd finished his schooling, was literally home. We met. I actually, at the time, I was a technical underwriter. So I went from the beauty world. I owned my very first business at the age of 20. I was going to 2021. And I was literally about a week before my 21st birthday. I said, I was already in aesthetics in the beauty world. And I said, you know what? I don't want to work for anybody. And I literally walked into a mall and said, I could do aesthetics in your salon. And they did hair. This is before they were doing salon suites, child. So I just walked in and was like, hey, you got a back room? I do aesthetics. You need it. And that was my very first business. And from that point was literally, I don't think I've ever worked for anybody since then, other than being a technical underwriter, which I kind of still worked for myself. But and then all of a sudden, again, life happens, meet my husband, and we moved here and started everything together.
So let me ask you this. What was that step-by-step process? Once you got a salon and said, yeah, sure, you can. At that moment, what did you do next? Like, what was your routine? Because you knew, I have these contacts. Okay, they want me. Oh, a lot of people would get anxiety at that point. Like, okay, what do I do next? I got to make sure this is perfect. What did you do? What was that routine process for you?
Well, let's start from the beginning in terms of how I even got there. Like I said, when I was doing aesthetics, and this is way before I started doing aesthetics in high school. So I was a teen mom, a very young mom, and I knew when I had my son, I said, well, I got to make a way for myself, for him, but most importantly, I want to make sure that whatever I do, I can build on and be able to have something that is my own. And that was really important to me from a young age. We're talking like 15. So having him really sparked me to figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to proceed the rest of my life. I knew early on how I was going to move. And so walking in that business and saying, hey, listen, I want to do aesthetics in your salon was really part of my plan from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I kind of knew, like, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get my aesthetics, which that's what I was doing then. This is, 15, 16 years old because I started in high school.
Right.
Right in my high school, we had a trade type of school.
Right, to prepare you for the real world.
Yeah, and but even then, I didn't go into it saying I'm going to go and work for a salon and be the best aesthetics, do aesthetics and be the best at it, beautician that I could be. What I really said was, I really love doing this, but how can I own my own? That was early on.
And that's the key.
And that was it. I knew what I wanted to do, and that was the goal. So as soon as I saw an opportunity to do that, I had some experience in aesthetics. I said, okay, what now? We're going to do that business thing we said we're going to do, right? When we were 16, that thing that we talked about to ourselves, that thing that we promised ourselves we were going to do. And I did it. I walked in, like I said, I want to do aesthetics in the back of your salon. And that's really how it happened in terms of becoming an entrepreneur. That was my first taste at it. And what really spawned the rest of the things I was going to do. So you asked about the steps. For me, it was deciding early on where I wanted to be. Not necessarily figuring it all out.
Right.
You know, at a young age, high school, even college, you're not really figure it out totally.
Exactly.
But what you do know is, how do you want your life to look? What do you want for yourself?
Exactly.
And for some people, listen, they want to get a job, work for somebody, build their way up. And that's amazing. That's their plan. But they have a plan.
Exactly.
For me, it was being an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to own my own business. And so I set in motion, get experience, learn your craft, implement good habits, make yourself the best at what you're doing so that when you do step out on your own, people will still want to come to you because you have the knowledge. So those are the things I did early on in terms of steps.
So let me ask you, were those steps that you created, or did you have a mentor, someone who was coaching you and pushing you along the way?
You know what? I didn't have a mentor.
Wow.
For me, my drive, I had drive and I had real purpose early on because part of it was I was a young mom and I really had to figure out what I had to do. And so I didn't really have a lot of choices there. Mentorship came really from my family. I have a West Indian family, Jamaican family that they don't play at all. They weren't even really like, go out and be an esthetician, but they knew, don't worry, she's going to be in the beauty world, but she's going to own something.
Yeah,
she's going to run something.
Yes.
And so that's why my parents weren't really too, of course they wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. But they knew whatever she's going to do, she's going to really take those steps to use it as a stepping stone to propel further and further in life. So I didn't personally have a mentor, but I did have people around me that were guiding me. One of my high school teachers I'm grateful for her, because she told me early on, you're a leader. She always said that to me.
That's awesome.
You're a leader. Whatever you're doing, you're a leader.
Right.
And I was grade 10, like my high school president. I knew that was in me, but I needed someone to say it was okay to be like that. Yeah. And that's what I had. So, yeah.
Because I think one thing, especially when I was in high school, doing the most or going above and beyond, students look down upon those students. So it's great that you had a teacher that was there to support you, because a lot of kids lack that support. And I really feel like it'd be a huge difference had the teachers actually support a lot of the students. And it'd be the quiet ones.
Right.
The quiet ones that get good grades and they're like, I want to do something, but I'm scared or I'm nervous. And they just need that person to say, you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so thankful. I had even friends and family. Nobody really said, oh, you have a baby, oh, that's it, No, they were like, oh, no. Like, I literally had my son on my hip and was giving I remember I had a announcement, someone was coming to our school, and I remember people still have these pictures of me holding my son and doing an announcement at school, like, hey, everybody, da-da-da. And this was literally 10th, 11th grade.
Wow.
So it's like finding when people encourage you and allow your light to shine early, you really can hone in on that and say, it's okay for me to be different and still be able to make it and do it, whatever that different is.
Exactly. So fast forward.
Yeah, fast forward.
Yes, now we're Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah. Okay, so the franchise was originally out of California. I remember I was listening to an interview and you went to Orange County and you were like, oh, I got an idea. 3 weeks. Yeah. Turnaround time.
That's right. Yeah, you really know. You really know the story. Yeah. So I'll give you the short version of it. Okay. So yes, I actually had moved to Atlanta, and a girlfriend of mine was always with me. She photographed eye candy models. I was always with her. So I kind of got the bug, like, oh, this could be a TV show. Just kind of watching these video models. I ended up saying this could be a show, whatever that meant to me. Now, being from Canada, especially 11 years ago, we didn't even really have reality shows. Because even now, we still have different broadcasting rules. and regulations than here. Like we still can't say the B word and all that stuff. No,
wow.
you don't. I'll go home and watch a show that I've watched here and be like, oh, they cut a whole segment out. It is what it is. So I grew up in that conservative, not real reality type world. Fast forward, I said, well, this could be a show, whatever that meant. I did not go to school for television broadcasting. Oh, wow. Which is always important for me to say, because I want people to understand that I felt in my heart that whether or not I had taken those initial steps, I can still make this show happen, right?
Right.
So the first one was Dime Piece, and I kind of put this whole pilot together, met a producer, flew out to LA, and exactly what you said. I sat down in front of him talking about Dime Piece, which was my first idea, and very quickly, we got on the subject of this franchise, Orange County, and I said, that's Atlanta. I said, that show, I'm going to do this in Atlanta, and that's really how it started. And we really weren't thinking of the franchise itself. We were thinking, for me anyhow, I was really pitching a group of Black women who have that life, and whether it was a part of the franchise or not, we kind of said, oh, I could do this. Give me 3 weeks.
Yep.
And that's how it happened. I just came home and put it together, and the rest is history.
Amazing.
Yeah, 11 years later.
One thing you said, you were doing your interviews and you saw Nene Leaks.
Yeah.
Instantly, she stood out.
Instantly.
What was it about Nene that made you say, oh yeah, that's it right there?
Yeah, she was a star. Let me just back up and say, when I first started asking people for referrals, I was interviewing people, and she actually was my second referral and my second interview. And I remember when I walked in her door, she was just so open. She was the same person you see now. Just, of course, she's a star now, but it was like she was a star then.
HBIC.
Yeah, she was. Listen, she was a star from the moment she opened the door and said, "This, whatever you're doing," because. Listen, I was a girl from Canada with no experience. I was just rolled in your house like, I'm going to interview you for a reality show. Like, okay. And I mean, who was I? Who was this girl? But she took a chance on me in terms of just really giving me her honest and true self. And from that day, I said, who are your friends? And I knew I was going to continue to interview. I probably did about 30 interviews in the city, which is hilarious because people to this day remember that. They're like, I can't remember you came to my house. And I was like, who's this person, this Canadian girl come to my house? But okay. And then, of course, the show ended up on TV and they're like, oh, that's God.
That's what was going on.
Right.
Yep, you missed out.
Well, listen, I really think it was already chosen in terms of the way I wanted it to look. And when Nene... I met her, and just she was open. She really was vulnerable in terms of allowing people to take the good, bad, and ugly from the beginning. And I said, "Who are your friends?" and interviewed Trey and Kim and Deshaun. Sort of, I already had on my table, and then Lisa Wu came in at the very end, literally the 12th hour, and joined the cast. Just before we were going to shoot our very first pilot. And so, that's kind of, I knew she was a star, and, she said, I got you, you got me, and that's how we did it.
That is so awesome. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Did you think it was going to blow up the way it has? Because you guys are in every major news headline, right. From the reunions to something that didn't happen on the show, something that happened on social media that had the cast members a part of the show. Yeah. Like, did you ever imagine it would become as big as it is, especially for our culture?
Okay, so the honest answer is no. And I've said that from the beginning. Here's the thing. I knew that I did not see a representation of an ensemble cast of Black women. I knew I didn't see myself on TV, and that's exactly what I said. And it's funny thinking back on it, the fact that I always say, how did I have the courage to even say that? And I was so Canadian, I was like, how did I even say that? And that's exactly what I said. I said, hey, wait a minute, this is what I don't see, and this is what I think should be on TV. And he was kind of like, okay, sure. Go ahead and do it now, we'll see. Because listen, I probably wasn't the first person to say it. I was just the first person to execute and make it happen. People probably said it before, like, hey, how come they don't have any Black girls on TV? Okay, they just never executed. So I say all that to say I definitely didn't really know, but I knew I had something special. And I remember as our pilot or test pilot aired July 31st, 2007. And right after that happened, there was all this noise. And it was at midnight. Like, who's checking for a show at midnight?
Right.
Nobody. However, what happened was people were buzzing about it and talking about it. And it got out of control where people were just like, oh my God, what was that? That was amazing. And very shortly after that, we went into production. And before the show came out, season 1, I had a chance to sit down with Will Smith. Random, won't even tell you that story, random. However, what he said to me stuck with me. He said, you have something so big. You're going to have to choose whether you want everybody to know you or just the show or how you want to do this. It's so big. And I was like, really? I really couldn't have imagined. He sure did. And I sure remind him, like, hey, remember when you said to me? Because I actually was just thinking, it's going to change something. It's going to change the climate of television. I just didn't know to what degree, and the shows that came after and the kind of laying that foundation for people to say, hey, I could do it too. And like, I'm a Basketball Wives. And then the urban culture itself was accepted.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I have to ask you, once you started to see all the blogs and the headlines and getting the text messages, like, oh my God, did you read this? Yeah. What was your reaction when it like first actually hit you? When the phones and the emails and everything was going crazy.
Okay. Season 1. We're talking about season 1? Let's talk about season 1. So season 1, and because I birthed the show and was part of bringing the cast and the whole thing, I worked on the show. So I actually was working. The train was moving. I was happy to be on it. I was just happy we were there. What we doing? Just don't kick us off the train or the track. And we just kind of kept moving. And I'm talking from production to cast to everybody. We were like, we're filming a show. It was a lot of guerrilla style, figuring out what we're going to shoot, putting stories together and just going and capturing things. Right. So I was really more focused on just getting it done. And getting this show on television, and so the show aired, and I ended up having a really big premiere party, humongous 600, 700 people at the W.
Nice.
And this is before premiere parties were a thing. I don't even think people really even do them the way we did those first 2. It was just a big deal. All the celebrities came out, the news, everything. And I remember sitting there like, okay, well, it seems really, Entertainment Tonight flew down. I thought, oh man, this is really big somehow or another. It's going to be a real thing. And I really just focused on making the show work. So I really wasn't thinking a lot about what people were saying. I just was more focused on getting it done. And people didn't, listen, a lot of people were confused or they weren't happy with things. People are always like that.
And how do you take that? Like when people try to throw like, oh, the show is making African Americans look a certain way. It's giving us a bad light. Like, how do you react to that?
Personally, the way I dealt with it, so it's not as bad. Season 1 and 2, I personally got like hate mail, and people found out who I was right early on because of the things like the premiere party and just people talking. Atlanta's small. Even though I kept my head down, worked, there was no, hey, that's, but people found out and personally attacked me, especially because I am an African-American woman. Wow. So they were like, well, how is this, Black woman allowing, and that's just not how it works in television. So what I chose to do was, I became a little more, even more anonymous, or I chose to decide to really step behind the scenes and not to protect myself, but more to allow everything to evolve the way it was going to evolve. And so now people, it's a love it or hate it. There are so many shows that I think people now are like, you know what? It is what it is. Right. It started out, but early on, it was difficult for me. It really was. I kind of felt like, oh no, give it a chance. This is amazing.
Exactly.
It's entertainment, people. So yeah, so
and I
that's
think
how
that's
dealt
what
with
people
it.
fail to remember. You said the key word, it's entertainment.
Yes.
It's for entertainment purposes. Yeah. And I think what a lot of negative people like to do is take that and put a negative stamp on it and make it a stereotype. Right. You know, because then that's when, of course, the stereotypes come out. Like, oh, women are always angry or some type of negative stereotype. So, you know, I think it's just negative people who are miserable with themselves and they want to find a reason to blame it on something. Well, you know what I mean?
I was listening. I'm glad. Still, when the show comes out, every season it comes out, I get a little stuff going on personally where people will, you know, say stuff personally to me, but then they quickly realize like I never respond. I'm not interested in any of that. You know,
and you gotta be strong because the comments and DMs, I be reading like Kylie Jenner and Kim and all the people who say such negative, like cyberbullying is real. My gosh.
It's real.
And people don't talk about it at all. Yeah. But like it's so real. And it takes a strong person to handle that. Yeah. I was talking to Jess Hilarious about that because she got cyberbullied. Yeah. And that's what she said. You gotta have heart. This industry isn't for everyone.
It's definitely not. It's one of those things that you really have to decide what side of the fence you're gonna be on in terms of your own, you know, visibility and so on. And if you are in front of the camera, and I give it up to anybody who can be in front of a camera and give their life and share their life, because some of it too, a lot of it helps other people, whether it's, you know, telling a message of what they're going through and having somebody be able to relate to their story. It takes a lot of courage to do that. I personally am always in awe of the girls, even on the show, the OGs, whoever that sign up to allow people to see their lives and open themselves up. You know, I think it's brave, and I do think whether it's for them to, you know, get some exposure and be on television, I think it's a really amazing thing.
Yes, I do as well.
Yeah.
Oh, this conversation is getting good. Okay, so we're going to take a short intermission. Okay. I don't have my Merlot today. So I had Merlot last Sunday.
Okay.
Girl, I was here burning up. I was like, nah, I can't do Merlot anymore.
I have water.
So I'm definitely going to drink my water.
Okay, cool.
And we're going to take an intermission and come right back. Okay, so we're back. The JaGurl Ravin podcast, and I'm here with producer Princess. And we were talking a lot about producer Princess and how she got started, where she's from, and pretty much the phenomenal woman that she is today. So now we're going to talk about a little entertainment news. Okay. I told my producer, Nick, I am not talking about Michael Jackson. All right. I ain't talking about R. Kelly. Because at this point, I'm over everything that they got going on with them. So I just want to stay away from all that. But I do definitely want to talk about Jennifer Lopez, who just got engaged. But you know, she had some previous engagements.
Yeah, she does. She loves love.
Yes. Right. I think she was married 3 times, and this is her second engagement.
Yep. And I think she's dated, you know, quite a few people. So she loves love.
Including Diddy.
She loves love. I keep going back to that.
So let me ask you this. Before your marriage, were you ever engaged? Or like, was your husband who you wanted? That was it? Like, I met him, I'm happy.
Wow. Well, you know what? I actually, when I was in high school, I dated my son's father all the way through pretty much. And then once I graduated, I was just so focused on the things I wanted to do. I really didn't have a whole lot of time to be like, you know, for me, my mind I was clear on, I didn't need distractions. Whatever them distractions was, I didn't need them. You know, there was always guys around and what have you, but when I realized what I wanted to do, I really wasn't a whole lot of dating. I did date somebody who was sort of in entertainment / sports world, I guess. And we were kind of on again, but again, distractions. So I wasn't big. That? It was crazy.
Dating somebody like in the field.
It was crazy.
Because I date a producer right now.
Oh no, it wasn't television. So it wasn't television. Sports. No.
So when I think sports, I was thinking sports television.
No, an athlete. No, and that's crazy when you're young.
Athlete.
Yeah, you know, nutty situations. We all go through them as young women now. But I learned a lot.
We do.
I learned a lot about what I wanted, what I didn't want.
Right.
And it was good for me. And we knew each other. We kind of, even though he was an athlete all over the world and famous, he was sort of from close to where I'm from, my hometown. And so we kind of were like, to me, I like listen, Canadian boy, meanwhile the world knew him as so-and-so. So, but I learned a lot, and I knew though that I knew what I wanted.
But aren't those the best relationships?
Yep.
When you can learn from them.
Yeah, I did.
My exes taught me a lot.
See?
And I'm like,
you.
Okay, I did learn that. It even taught me a little bit about myself.
Absolutely.
Because I was like, oh, I do this.
Right.
I do that because karma work in some mysterious ways.
It's good. Listen, you have to be able to be vulnerable enough to date and figure out what's for you and what's not for you. And I'm lucky that I met my husband coming right out of that relationship, and he was just so different. He was very I didn't even know what he did for about 3 months. Let me tell you how we met. So he had come home to visit. He was at Howard. He was graduating from Howard, finishing his residency at her hospital, one of them hospitals in DC. And he come home for a visit, and I literally, once in a lifetime, went out and met him at a club. Now, they say you can't meet your husband at a club. I met my husband at a club.
Okay.
Yes.
Break the stereotypes.
Leaving a club. And so I definitely, we seen each other, we started to talk, and that was it. From that day, we've been together ever since, as they say. However, awesome. As I would talk to him on the phone, I just thought he was a businessman. I just didn't ask what he did. I kind of was like, okay. Then one day I kind of figured out something happened, and I listened to a recording, and it said, you've reached, Dr. David Lofters. And I was so annoyed. I'm going to tell you why. Women look for the doctor. Right. I was like, well, what kind?
Right.
Okay, I need you to be home. I don't need you on call. Right. The hospital, you got to go. And as soon as he told me that he was an orthodontist, and he was a maxillofacial surgeon with practicing orthodontics, I was like, perfect. So you work 3 days a week, you home? I said, oh, you're my type of doctor. We might can do this. Right. And literally soulmates, and we've been, together ever since. Awesome. So yeah.
So 15 years. Let me ask you this. How do you and your husband keep that balance? Because I think every relationship has to have a balance. Like I said, I'm in a relationship, and I think right now we're working on finding that balance. Because it's like, I love you, but you're around me too much. Go have fun with your friends. Like, go, we have to find that balance, especially when you live with someone. Yeah.
Well, my husband's always allowed me to be me. Always. Awesome. From day one, I had a great deal of independence. He knew I was an independent person. When we met, I didn't, quote, need anything. I always kind of had my own and was really independent, and whether he was there or not, or whoever was there or not. So he always allowed me to be myself, be independent, and I did the same for him. So we had a good level of respect early on, and I was clear on who I was early on, and so was he.
Oh yeah, when you was 15, you was clear on who you was.
I was clear. So yeah, we find the balance because we allow each other to be ourselves, and we knew that from the beginning. So we don't pretend. We don't like, oh well, this is how we are in the beginning, and now this is how we are. We're still the same way 15 years later. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your sign?
That's the balance. I'm a Taurus.
What's his sign?
He's a Gemini.
Oh, he's a Gemini. Yeah. Shout out to all the Gemini.
Oh, so you a Gemini twist? Yeah. Okay, so I got both in the room.
Oh yeah, both in the room. Shout out to Keith. You know what I'm saying? So
all my boys are Geminis. My 2 sons are Geminis as well. They're all born a day apart. They're like,
are you serious?
Yeah, 28, 29, 31st. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
They're all like day. Yeah.
That is crazy. Like, what happened? Like 9 months before that to make everything
Well, here's the thing. I think the world wanted me to have 3 Geminis, 3 boys, Geminis. So yeah.
That is awesome. So, another thing that I want to talk about in entertainment, rest in peace to Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah.
22 years since he was killed. Are you a big Biggie fan?
You know what?
Did you listen to his music?
Well, I grew up, like I said, in Canada, and Canada is heavily, especially because I'm Jamaican, heavily influenced by reggae music and like that kind of soul, that kind of music rather. Right. However, being that we're so close to the North, we are the North, there's a lot of like, I grew up listening to, Biggie and Tupac and then my era music for me, I listened to a lot of hip hop. So I was listening to like Wu-Tang and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
When, I was a girly girl, but I was a little, listening to a lot of hip hop. So, but no, I mean, I love Biggie and he was definitely, I think that even thinking about how soon he passed, I always think about that around this time and think, what would he be like now?
Yeah,
what would he be giving the world?
Oh my gosh. You think him and Tupac could still be at the top of the game? Or do you think they would pave the way for younger people to come up?
At this point, I mean, I think they'd just be legends, they'd be living legends. Definitely. And that would be it. I think that they wouldn't, and I think it has a cycle for everybody. Everybody who's wants that big person and wants that person that people aspire to be, they have their place, and then someone comes in and takes it. And all that it makes that other person is a legend. That's it, you know. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this:
okay,
Biggie or Tupac?
Biggie.
Okay.
For me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were more of the Biggie, Diddy, Bad Boy, Mace, Kim.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was.
Did you go to their reunion tour?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And now that I'm in entertainment.
Favorite concert.
Absolutely. It was so dope. Like it was one of the best. I wish they would kind of bring it out every year. But it was really good.
It was real good.
Really good, right?
Oh, yeah. They did
good.
that for sure.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk about in the news, I'm not sure how big you are with politics.
Yeah.
But a bill
not big,
was just
I'm
passed.
Canadian.
Okay.
It's not my president's, y'all's presidents. But go ahead.
Right, exactly.
Definitely not mine.
Unfortunately. But there was a heartbeat bill that was just passed. It was in the Georgia House. They approved that in order to have an abortion, you have to have it sooner now. So they went from 20 weeks to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So if the doctor hears a heartbeat in the fetus, you can't have an abortion.
Right.
What are your thoughts on women's rights and women being able to have a voice to say, if they want to keep a child or not?
Okay, so period, point blank for me. I always go back to my own personal experience. My son wouldn't be here. He's about to be 26 years old. He would not be here.
26?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Listen, I told you I was a young mom. He's about, 27, 26. Old.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, you look great.
Right. Thank you. So he definitely, I always think about him when I think about things like this. And what if I wasn't allowed to make that decision and have that choice, whether it's just because somebody else was making it for me? Like, what if it was, hey, you gotta, get a parent's consent if you're under a certain, like, what if those rules were put in place when I was, having my son and pregnant with him? And I just feel like a woman should have the choice because it's her body. Exactly. That's just how I feel. So I think a woman should choose.
Oh, yeah. I think a woman definitely should choose. And when I read it, it was 2 days ago.
Absolutely.
So this is when they were voting. And
I'm
heard
like, about it. Absolutely.
Why is no one talking about this?
Why is this not,
you know what I mean?
About it. Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is that young girl is going to go to the clinic or wherever that she goes with her doctor.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be like, we're sorry, but we cannot do the procedure.
And then the scarier part to that is what happens after that.
Exactly. That's
where is she going to end up? Whether she makes a bad decision then or it's just so many really scary scenarios that I think that ultimately it should just absolutely be thinking about the whole picture, not just what somebody feels is medically or clinically a reason.
Right.
Yeah, it's very sad.
It's very sad because that thing is going to cause more younger women, girls to have kids. What about the girl who's in high school that maybe messed up and maybe her parent wasn't like your parent and was like, hey, we can't afford it. What are we gonna do? And now you're forcing that child to have a kid.
Yeah, it's scary. It's definitely scary. At the end of the day, it has to be the woman's choice, and it just has to be a choice that they can make based on all of the medical stuff we've learned all thus far. You can kind of come in now and say, well, this is a new rule. So I'm not.
So let me ask you another question. How would you feel if I know you said you have a son who's older, if he, had a child, does he have any kids right now?
He doesn't.
Okay,
no, I have two and they both don't.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesus. Because they kids themselves.
Right.
But go ahead.
You know what I mean? I'm still a kid, okay?
Listen.
And I'm in my 20s.
Right.
But how would you feel, or as a mother, if your son was like, Mom, got a girl pregnant, but she don't want to keep the kid. What do I do? Like, as a mother, what would you do to, like, console your son?
Yeah. I feel like, again, I was blessed to be able to have people that I could talk to that speak to me candidly, openly, and honestly. Yes. I've always been like that with my son, always. And I won't say that I haven't, he's 26 and 20 and 25. So I've had discussions with my kids early on, and some of it included some things that are serious like this. Like, hey, Mom, there might be a scare. There might be a possibility. There might be for me, I try to guide as opposed to give my own feeling and opinion. I personally would maybe say, hey, I'd love to have, this grandbaby. I wouldn't want. Yeah. However, again, it's really about the choice. Exactly. And the choice that they have to make and what's going to be good for their lives. So I try to guide and not give my personal mommy feeling.
But how do you do that? That's hard to
I don't know.
Well, here's your options. I'm going to push this one a little further, though. Yeah.
And the thing is, again, we've been so open. I've really been open with my kids from day one that we've really it's almost like they would be coming to me sharing how they feel and letting me tell them how I feel about it. But really, they're sharing how they feel, and I just have to always respect that part of them growing up. And I've always done that. So, but it's hard, And then when I don't agree with something, they know that too. They know.
I heard the Jamaican accent come out right there.
They know exactly what it is. Yes. So,
I love it.
Yeah,
love it. All right. Yeah. Well, more with producer Princess coming up right here on the JaGurl Ravin podcast. We're back. The JaGurl Ravin podcast. Producer Princess. This is the fun part of the podcast. All right. Don't get me wrong. So. I enjoyed our conversation. I think we had an amazing talk. But this is the fun part.
All right.
We're going to play a little game. So with every guest that I have on the podcast, I play a game, but the game is catered to the guest.
Okay.
So your game is called Finish the Scene.
Ooh, Lord.
Ooh, are you ready?
Not really, but go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to create a movie scene or a TV scene. And you have to finish it and make it juicy.
Wait,
so
what?
I'm going to give you the beginning of the story.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, being behind the scene, you have to produce and write and, make the scene juicy and make it good. So you got to put the scene together. Okay?
All right.
Are you ready?
No, but go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so the first scene, a mother comes home to find her 14-year-old daughter having sex in the living room. What happens? What is that scene?
Ooh. Well, so she gets on the phone. She politely tells, not politely. Canadian came out. She tells the young man to pick his stuff up and exit the room. While she's doing that, she's on the phone with the father of said child. And father is on his way back to the house and immediately goes upstairs and is looking through the closet for his shotgun to go over to the boys' house to let them know what she just walked in on or what they know about this child who was in the house with my daughter.
Right.
So there's a shotgun involved.
Shotgun. Okay.
There's a shotgun involved.
Daddy, come home and get the shotgun.
Right.
I love it. Okay, the next scene. So a girl comes home and she walks in the room and she finds her man sleeping with her best friend.
Well, there's a lot of sleeping going on. There's a lot of sleeping around going on.
Going on.
So you said it's the best friend.
The best friend. She walks in and it's her man with her best friend.
Listen. There might be another gun involved. There's a lot of sleeping around going on, but there's a lot. Listen, I'm taking you both out. So what happens is, I think it's going to be a scene where she snatches both of them, and I think. Listen, I have to think about that because the younger me would say, I would go for her. I'm going to go for her. You're my best friend. Men don't have any kind of discernment when it comes to this. They're not good decision makers, but you're my best friend. So I'm going to come to you first. Yeah, it's going to be a me and you. And once me and you have it, then I'm going to deal with him. And he got to watch. He got to sit there and watch, and I'm going to lock the door.
So can't nobody leave?
That's the scene. Was this supposed to be about me? Hold on.
No.
I was supposed to write a scene for other people, but it turned out to be about me. Well, I'm just telling you what I would do.
Yes.
That's what I would do.
Listen, I love it.
They both getting snatched.
Both of them. Doors locked.
And the door is locked.
I love it.
That's what happens. I was supposed to write that diplomatically, but it didn't work out that way.
No,
okay.
Listen, I painted the picture
You painted it?
in my head.
And the door locked?
Yes.
Okay.
I heard the lock.
I hope
everything.
you heard the lock. Okay. And he's just sitting there looking crazy, like, what? What's going on? I love you, babe. This was an accident. Okay. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't no accident. You knew what he was doing.
You knew what you were doing.
Exactly. So the last scene is a horror movie.
Okay.
So the lights go off in the house. Everyone's sitting in the living room. What happens? You can create.
Okay, wait.
So we're in the living room watching TV, and all the lights go out instantly. What happens next?
Ooh, what happens next? Well, I think I would, if it's me and my girlfriends, it's a little different. So it's going to be, I'm going to bring it back to me again. It's going to be me and my girlfriends. Immediately, there's another gun involved. A lot of guns involved.
I love all these guns.
There's another gun involved, because you got to protect yourself, right? So you have your legally carry permit gun under the. I'm reaching for something. My girlfriend's going to the window. The other one's on the phone calling, for someone to come over 911. As Black women, we already know when the lights go out, something is going down. Something's happening. So we're basically casing the place to make sure that whoever it is isn't gonna live or isn't gonna make it out if he comes in for us.
Right.
So that's the scene.
Let's go here.
That's the scene.
Everybody broke up, right? The one who calls 911 doesn't come back.
Well, listen, I didn't send you outside now. I told you to go in the closet, lock the door, and call 911. I didn't tell you about to open the door, go outside, talk about what's going on out here, and then call 911. I didn't tell you to do that. If she go outside, well, she might be on her own. We're gonna look for her though.
Okay, so we're gonna
send somebody to look for her though.
Okay.
We're gonna send somebody to look for her. But you open the door. Is everybody Black in the house?
Yeah, everybody Black. They girls.
Oh, you're right. They were girls. Well, I'm from Canada. My best friend is very white, beautiful girl. That's my sister. And be like, okay, princess. But, again, with the diversity. Right. But yeah, but she might be the one to go outside, though. I ain't gonna lie. She might be the one like, what's going on out here? Right. I don't know. I think I'm going to call 911. But I'm going to call from outside. Right. I told you about to stay inside. I got the pistol. She gonna check the window and the doors, and you gonna call 911, but from the closet.
Right.
So that's the scene.
You only had one job.
You only had one job. That's the scene, girl. Well, oh Lord.
You have been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're so welcome.
Your planner. Is it still sold out? Because I know you sold out. Yeah,
you know what? We actually have more. We've got about 10 or so left.
Okay.
And people are we're getting ready to write the new one. So we would love for people to kind of get their hands on this current planner so that they can kind of set themselves up for the next one, which is kind of a part 2. So yeah, Sell It, Concept to Reality. Yep. And that's the planner that I came out with 12-week kind of step-by-step of what to do, those things that you really need to focus on and hone in on so that you can set yourself up for a win when you sit down in front of that person who you're trying to sell your idea to and really get those little tips to kind of get you to the next level. So yeah, work at your own speed. It is a planner / journal. You could write in it. You can follow the steps. It tells you everything from things to do for using your resources, execution, casting. It's people really love it.
Because all that comes into play.
It sure does. And people forget, or they just don't know. I didn't realize people weren't sharing the information. When I got to write it, I really just was like, well, I'll just put this out here because people kept asking me. And I personally didn't have the time to address every person who asked me. So I put it out and people were like, I can't believe there was nothing out there like that.
Right.
So yeah.
So how did you go about breaking it down? Like your routine to writing your book? Because a lot of writers who I've met before in the past, they have like a routine, like maybe they'll sit down, they'll kind of, get their mind right, or they'll go through the process of what they went through. So was it really personal?
It was actually, it was extremely personal. What I really did was I took the top, people ask me consistent questions in terms of besides the how did you get in, what did you do? So what I started to say was, well, let me tell you what you need to do in order to be able to be successful at putting together the first initial 10 or so steps to really like, well, where do you start? Okay, well, I need to figure out, is my concept a really sellable concept? Have other people done this? Are other people working on it? What makes a good concept? So I kind of started to put together the questions I got asked most and the things I thought people needed to know, the things that perhaps people didn't tell me. Because I had a crash course in television from Princess and from, being thrown into the fire and like figure it out. And a lot of people don't really have a chance to even get that far. So it's kind of like, well, here are the steps. Now go back, research, do it. And once you start to do it, you start to say, oh, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know what a casting sheet was. I didn't know that I could actually sell my concept by putting together a phenomenal cast and paying attention to that, which, shows are sold on cast. Cast is king. No cast, no show.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So
and then they're figuring it out along the way.
Yeah, which is great. It helps. It's really, really hands-on.
Right.
So yeah,
so
people
they
love
can
that.
Purchase right now on your website.
Yep. Producerprincess.com. Yep.
Okay.
Right off of, people mostly just go to my Instagram, click on the link. It brings you right to my website, or just type in producerprincess.com. My planners are there. I do coaching. I do a little bit of everything when I, can kind of fit it into what's going on. But yeah. Right on my website.
So with your coaching, do you do one-on-one, or do you teach like a class, or like
I do both.
Okay.
Yeah, I do both. So like I said, for a really long time, for me, I was so focused on being behind the scenes. Once I started to realize the value in just sharing what I've done, what I know, where I've been, I started to say, well, that's where I'll become more public, is giving the knowledge of what I've done. And so, yeah, I started to do that, and I'll be doing a lot more this year. I'll be doing sort of more of one-on-one type of, conversations with Princess, Producer Princess, conversations with Producer Princess, or I'll do one-on-ones if it's somebody says, hey, I'm coming from out of town, which literally just happened. Somebody literally flew in and she came from New Orleans and said, she was here for an hour. Wow. Yeah, we ended up more like 2 hours, but she flew in really for an hour consultation and flew out. She just just wanted to know, sit down and talk and figure it out. And people are that hungry for information that if they find somebody that they feel is the person for them, they'll go after it. So I'm putting the information out there.
Oh, that's so awesome. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much
You're
once
welcome.
again for stopping by. So make sure you guys go and get her book right now. Sell it from concept to reality. Producer Princess, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we out of here. The JaGurl Ravin podcast. Hasta luego.